Hey everybody. So I'm going to Haiti in a month to do development work and mission work. So I'm really excited that I get to do my paper on are there returns to education in Haiti, or more specifically, is there a relationship between education and social and economic well-being or wealth? That may be pretty obvious. We go to school because we want to get ahead, we want to improve our lives. But in Haiti, there are so many problems economically in regard to development, natural disasters, infrastructure, disease, crippling poverty. It's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and it's one of the poorest in the world, with some of the lowest development indicators in the world. So what motivates my paper is that I don't necessarily know if education alone allows individuals to break out of poverty with all these development issues. So that's kind of what motivates my paper. My testable hypothesis is if basically is there a baseline relationship between education and social and economic well-being. This hasn't been tested in the literature just because of the lack of data in Haiti. There's not a lot of data, so it's hard. It's been hard to find anything empirically testing this, although it's been done in other developing countries and across the world. I'll also be testing if there is potential marginalization for different demographics. So in the theoretical literature, it's been talked about that females may be being left behind, and those in rural areas may be being left behind. So I'll also be testing to see if there's a relationship there. I'll be doing 4 separate regressions, so I'm not only going to run my regression for Haiti, but I'm using 4 data sets. I'm using one for Dominican Republic, Guatemala, and Honduras because they're in close proximity and they're all developing countries. I'm going to be running 4 separate multiple linear regressions, just simple OLS with control variables. I'll be regressing a wealth index factor score, which is a proxy for social and economic well-being. I'll be regressing that on years of education with control variables being age, age squared, gender, region, and an interaction term for a rural female. I'll also include a dummy variable for if the individual has a bank account. In my summary data, I have average years of education, the mean wealth index factor score, and the wealth index factor score data spread. Also include tabulations of the households for each country. So the household IDs in the data, are they rural or are they urban? So those provide some kind of baseline indications regarding my hypothesis. The state of the current theoretical and empirical literature, and how does mine compare? Like I said from the outset, I have not found anything empirically, not too much empirically in general in Haiti, just because of the data, the lack of data, but definitely not testing a relationship as important as this one. Are there returns to education? Is there a positive relationship with all this stuff, all this bad stuff that's down there? Does education alone allow people to improve their well-being? So I think I do add to the literature a lot by giving that, empirically testing that baseline relationship, but also including a dummy variable for those that live in rural areas to see if there's potential marginalization for those that live in rural areas, and also for females. So I think I do add to the literature. My econometric technique, I think I covered that a little bit earlier, but I'll be doing basic OLS, multiple linear regression, with the 6 or 7 variables, independent variables that I named, regressing the wealth index factor score on them. The wealth index factor score will be my dependent variable. My preliminary results. So all of my coefficients are statistically significant, and the education variable is statistically significant at the 1% level. So that's pretty cool. My R squared for each regression is relatively high, except for the one for Dominican Republic, which is 0.19, and I'm gonna have to drill down into that a little bit and see why that is. But my R squared coefficient for Haiti is 0.609. For Guatemala, it's 0.43, and for Honduras, it's 0.55. So I believe that I have good models, and I believe that I'm adding to the literature with this. A few highlights are that there is a positive relationship, and significant, like I said, for all 4 countries between education and wealth, and the wealth index factor score. Also, the rural dummy variable shows that by a value of about 118,000, those living in rural areas are left behind. So that's quite significant. I'll get more detailed in my actual analysis on what that means for how to what extent, as in someone can drop from the 2nd quintile to the 3rd quintile just from being in a rural area. So basically, short story, they're left behind, and that proves my hypothesis. Females are also marginalized, so the hypothesis I attempted to construct and the models I attempted to construct, it appears that I have satisfied those. So, and come to a good conclusion. The rest of my paper is basically going to be suggestions and discussions about poverty and education and development in general in Haiti. And now that I've drawn this empirical relationship, how can policymakers move forward, making sure that those in rural areas and females don't get left behind, instead of just planting schools everywhere they can. There needs to be policies that address social inclusion, empowering women, things of that nature. So yeah, that's a quick summary. Obviously, I think I left a lot of things out, but that's a short summary of what I'll be covering and what motivates it.